couple decades ago, uh, Cincinnati pulled the old eminent domain on an old lady to, they said it was to reroute, I believe the name of the road is, it's either Dick Smith or Good Sam Drive, but I think it's Dick Smith. The real reason, and everybody knew the real reason, was to expand the Good Sam privately owned Dick Smith garage, which they did. But they wound up taking this lady's property. Everybody threw an uproar about it. The state was fucking her. She didn't want to sell it. Then they wouldn't offer a fair market value. Stuff happens every day in the country. Now there's a family in Pigeon Forge that bought a home after the landowner knew that the government had already deemed it, or took it, whatever, under eminent domain. They sold it to his family. They spent 7 months putting their life savings into it, remodeling it, and then the neighbor was the one to come over and made them aware, like, hey, your house is dozed over. So their eminent domain is now used today in a way it was never intended to be used. So you have to think, in this country, that the ideal with all the times in the beginning was that some people are intelligent. Those intelligent people will take the forefront, which doesn't seem to be the case. Because this road is called the West Side Connector, maybe. But the road runs along Mill Creek, and I don't know if you're not familiar with the area, you're not going to know what that means, but you can probably Google it, probably look up. I'm sure there's shit all over the internet about this. But it has a couple of distinct turns in it. It goes straight down the creek, follows the creek, then makes a distinct left turn, distinct right turn, right to these people's, right over where their house used to be, going around a campground. So Pigeon Forge for the 2021 or 2022 came out with a thing saying that they need 15% more rooms in order to keep up at night. So a couple of quick Google searches, and what you find out is that the mayor's brother owns this campground that the road magically goes around, but had to go through these people's home. As of today, the home have not been paid $1. The mortgage is still in their name. I mean, the mortgage is like $3,000 a month, and they're still having to pay that, having yet been paid anything. Now, with that said, I don't agree with any of it, but at least the city can do is pay the mortgage off. That way, they're not responsible for that, and then work the details out later. The problem with it is legally is that once it's just like you get in a car wreck and you take a $2,500 settlement, you can't go back and get anything later. So, but in the end, government's going to fuck you. And the reason they do it is because nobody stood up. If that lady would have stood her ground and the neighbors would have said, you're not taking it, what choice do they have? Well, they fall back into the, I'm sure this is I back the blue lady. She's a quote unquote God-loving woman, but who has made government her God because she lets government bully her around. Even when, God has given her the natural right to own property. She works for it, it's hers, but now government takes it. And it happens all the time. But like in every other case, nobody gave a shit until she didn't care until it was her. I guarantee you can go back throughout this woman's social media past. The name of the channel is Pigeon Forge Eminent Domain. And you will never hear her once say anything about eminent domain. And here's my position on the eminent domain. I don't care what reason government finds to take my property. The only way they're going to take it is if I'm in a body bag. And hopefully along the way, anybody who tries to take it, at least one or two or five or all of them will wind up the same way. That's why they do it. That's why they get away with it. That's why they're going to continue on with it. You can go to all the meetings you want. Government's corrupt. It's done. There's no getting the corruption out of it. If everybody that you vote for gets on the ballot, you're not going to get the corruption out of it. Not the way the system's set up. Not going to happen. What will happen is they will become corrupt, just like in this case. And what's going to wind up happening is 100% is at that campground that's zoned commercial, they're going to wind up, the brother of the mayor is going to wind up building a hotel. This is what's going to wind up happening. Or just sell the property for millions of dollars and somebody else is going to build a hotel here. Either way, it's not going to remain a campground. And like, you can do some quick Google searches on it and find that, Pigeon Forge had already shot down when they wanted to put a campground there. It's not even a developed campground. They're going to put a campground there, because it hasn't been developed at all. But nobody cares. But if the neighbors would have came together and the homeowner would have said, "You're carrying me out in the body bag," and look at what happened in Athens, Tennessee years ago. That's what it takes. You want to change government? That's what it takes. You have all these idiots in the comment section saying, "Well, you got to run for office there, and that's how you change it. You change it by joining it." That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life, because it's not how it happens. Because the majority flock thing takes over, and on a long timeline, you begin to think that way too, unless you're just, bold and strong-headed. But then they're just going to get you out of there, which, whatever. Let the lady screw that knows her house over. She's already let them win. I mean, she could go out there and post up and say, "You're not building a road through here," but you fucked up when you let them doze the place. Should never happen. Should have stood your ground, arms, and dared them to come near your property like you would any criminal trying to steal your property. There's already a way from point A to point B. We don't need to make a new route to do that. I mean, like I said, eminent domain was not intended for it. I mean, look at the Great Smoky Mountains. In the 30s, look how much property the government took from eminent domain. People that was the first ones here, the first ones to claim the land, the government just took it. National parks are completely unconstitutional. The federal government doesn't have any jurisdiction to own lands outside of that which would purchased through the consent of the state legislatures. And I bet if you go back, I guarantee the state legislature did not sell land they didn't own to the federal government for the Smoky Mountains National Park. But they did it. They've been doing it. And they're going to continue to do it. And in each case, nobody's going to care until it's them. And then by the time it gets around to the next case they find out about, they've already forgotten about what happened to them because of whatever reason. Because of the hassle and shit. But it's like nothing else. It's like everything else. You're going to continue down this path of why did it happen to me? Why did it happen to me? Oh my God, look what happened to me. It's nothing that hasn't happened every day in this country for the last 200 years. But nobody cares until it's done. Just like with the police. Like I said, I would bet my left leg this lady supports the cops. Wholeheartedly, I bet it. I bet my right nut. How about that? But you know who would have, if she would have stood her ground, you know who would have came and killed her to get her out of there? The cops. So her mind tells her they're just doing their job. It's not them that did this. It's the people that signed the paperwork, which is the excuse across the board in this country for everything bad that happens. It's not the people that enforce it, that choose to enforce it for a paycheck. It's the people that signed the paperwork. This is pure stupidity. Fucking stupid. But, you like that's what I said yesterday. I'm surrounded by idiots. Plain, flat out idiots. I'm not saying this woman's an idiot. I'm just saying that her reasoning is idiotic. If you think that you're going to beat them in their own system, you got shit really fucked up. If you think you're going to come out ahead in this system, you got shit fucked up. It doesn't matter that the realtor appraised it under residential zoning and it's zone commercial. It doesn't matter. You know why? Because guess who's in on the tape? The realtor. Everybody in that whole line's in on the tape. Even if it takes paying the sheriff off. They don't care. and people are going to take it because once you're in government, why do you think government takes care of government? Because once you're in, you either go along to get along, even if that means taking money that you don't necessarily want to take, or you disappear in one way or the other. It's that simple. But I can't comment on the ladies' channel because YouTube don't like what I have to say. So, like I said, I think it's a Pigeon Forge. Eminent Domain is the name of the channel, I think. And I don't know what she intends to accomplish by, I don't know what her end goal is. Like I said, if it had been me, I'd been doing live streams from sitting at the kitchen table, daring somebody to come through the front door. Well, then what they do, they beat you by shutting the power off or the water off. All these things that we put in the hands of either private companies. You're going to have to get out of the way, bitch, because I got to, you see how that works? People are stupid. I'll tell you that yet today. You pull in here, and there's clearly marked lanes for a reason, but nobody uses them. Just take your time and go sleep today, buddy. Fucking idiots. I was waving at it. I don't know. Nobody likes the solution to the problem because the solution doesn't involve everybody coming out smiling. And then it also involves risk. And nobody likes those two things. And they definitely don't like going against the police. Not our saviors, our heroes in blue that keep us safe from all the crime, from the people that want to steal our property and harm us. Like your city government, your sheriff, all those people. That crime's okay because we call it government, and they've made it legal. I want to get about 50 of my friends together to come together and say it's legal that I steal your property. And then I want to pick the biggest mansion in the county, and we're going to take it by eminent domain. Let it sit there for about a year, then decide that we're not going to do whatever it was that we were going to do with it. And then we will decide to sell that to the highest bidder at an auction that we announced the wrong date for. I will show up to them be the only bidder, and I'll buy it for $1. And it'll all be legal. Why? Because me and some of my friends that people you don't like voted for. Because we voted for each other, that's why. We were talking the other day about claiming independence. The other day was Independence Day. Well, the way it should work is that you should never have to deal with your government in your lifetime if you don't want to, other than to fight for shit that's right. And when I say fight, I don't mean fucking voting or readdressing it. There comes a point where you have to fight. It has to get physical and kinetic. Or you're going to lose because government has no problem getting kinetic with you. And until you realize that, that the sheriff you praise who's arresting the dude because he had some blow in his trunk or got caught with a pound of weed. Like the whole statist, I hate using that term, but the whole mentality is just retarded. Like I said, if you're one of the people that support your sheriff for arresting people for drugs, and then you drive through a state where weed's legal, then you drive through a state where it's illegal and then legal, does the switch in your brain go on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off as you drive through the states where one thing's legal, then it's not, then it is, then it's not, then it is, then it's not? Like, nothing about it makes sense. I can't see what you're saying. My phone's still hurting. Hold on, I'm turning my phone so I can see what you're saying. I probably still won't be able to see because I'm blind. I can't see shit. I'm blind, man. 2006. Supreme Court and the government can take your property. Yeah, they can take it if you let them. They can't take it if you put up a fight and everybody around you does too. That's how government gets away with shit. That's how they get away with the shit like they did in Cincinnati and Good Sam or in Pigeon Forge, what they're doing. You can call it legal all you want. What allows it to happen is people standing around and doing nothing. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. We don't actually own anything, but people think we do. But the main issue is with blaming the next person. I got a conversation with the sheriff where I live, and and it was, well, it's not my fault. It's what the court says, and I'm just doing my job. And then it ain't the court's fault. They're just following the law and doing what the legislature says. They're just doing their job. So then you go up to the legislature. It's not the legislature's fault. It's the constituents' fault because they're just doing their job. It's all a big circle of bullshit. But until people are willing to stand up and say, you know what? You're going to kill me and all of my neighbors who hopefully are here with me, or you're not taking shit. But the problem with that is that they will continue to bring in
Waco too.
Yeah, it'd be like Waco. They bring in all the feds, and you run out of people who are willing to defend you because it's not them. It goes back to, I guarantee this lady has never said a word about eminent domain until this happened to her. Never cared about it. And it's happened in her town 100%, and it happens in every town in this country, at one day. Nobody cares until it's them. And then once it gets past them, and then there's not willing to put their life on the line. I'm sorry, but you come take my neighbor's property, you're going to have to be willing to die, number one, for a paycheck, which is kind of stupid, to commit immoral acts. But number two, you're going to be willing to kill me and my neighbor. Probably my neighbor first. I'm probably have to push him out from the front. Because if you ain't going to fight, I ain't going to fight for you. But you're never going to win in the end. Because we live in a nation of complete pussies that put breathing over living, and then you're just a free range slave. That's all you are, fucking free range slave. But nobody will admit that because it's the land of the free, and we have days like Independence Day, where you're free to celebrate as your government's told you that you're allowed to, depending on what state you live in. Even then, what? Can you what? Hell no, you can't stay here. I gotta get a bunch of shit.
What?
I need muscles.
I don't got muscles.
Well, grow them because you're about to need them. I don't know, man. World's a shitty place. It's not going to get any better. And it won't get any better because we've gone so far down this road of flock think. Everybody thinks I just hate cops. I don't hate cops any more than I hate rapists. But I hate them for the same reason. There's no difference. There's no difference if government says, hey, you own property, or to whoever says you own property, and because you own that property, you're going to pay me X amount of dollars every year, or else bad things will happen to you. Now, if you look at the average normie, this is legitimate because it's quote-unquote law. We need these services. There's a bunch of different quotes there. We, because if you're saying that shit, there's no we in that. You need that shit. So what you need to do is you need to go work a fucking job. You need to hire security. You need to hire yourself a doctor. You need to hire a fireman or whatever the shit it is you need that I don't want. And since I don't want it, if we're going to play the game that we played today, let's have a list. Let's have a list that all these departments can get of addresses. This person they said they didn't want this service, so when it burns down, let it burn. Bring marshmallows. If they call for the police, they're out. They work outside the system. For instance, when my truck got hit, my first thought wasn't for her to call the police. My first thought was, well, let's think about this. They hit my truck and then they took off. If they'd just been hit my truck, I probably would be like, ain't no big deal. Ain't worth anybody's insurance going up. But then the bitch took off, and then she lied about whose fault it was. If it had been up to me, she'd only done that one time. She'd have never had a chance to do it again. Not because she did it, but because she ran. You don't fuck somebody's shit up and then run from it. At least own up to it. It's a couple $100 mirror. That stuff got fixed. But that's the world we live in, where we got to get government involved in everything. Our house is burning down. Oh shit, let's call government. I'm having a heart attack. Oh shit, let's call government. I can't feed myself today. Oh shit, let's call government. Somebody's stealing my property. Oh my God, let's call government and get them put into prison. But when government does it, to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time, it's law. It makes sense. It's magically moral. I want to draw myself a little badge and stick it on me and just go around pulling people over. Oh wait, that's illegal. You can't have red and blue lights on your vehicle. You can't pretend to have authority over other people. You can just pretend to have authority over other people. Like, it's all nonsensical shit. But I wish the lady the best of luck. Although she's already lost because she let her bulldoze her own. If this was me, and I'm not giving you legal advice, I'm not telling you what to do with your life. Try to take my property, and it's going to be a war. You're going to literally start a war. And hopefully there's enough people around me that would be like, yeah, we're not going to let that happen. It's not going to. It's not going to happen the way you think it is anyway. And you're going to kill us all to do it. And until that's how shit changes. You're not going to change. I mean, look at all Zombie Fairy. The zombie farmer himself, Mr. All My Praising God, selling Jesus, donate me some money so I can go on vacations to Virginia or wherever the hell else, who joined the sheriff's department to change the sheriff's department. But why don't you go ahead and look like the arrest records in that county? See how much changing he's done. Why don't you look up to see how many cops he's arrested? And that dude's double dipping. He's getting money that's been extorted. Extortion is a crime. It is a real crime. Well, there's loss, injury, or harm. Right? That's what a crime is. It's not when government says you can't smoke a joint, then you smoke a joint. That's not a crime. You want to hurt you, more power to you. Go jump off a bridge. I don't care. A crime is when your choices, your actions cause somebody else loss, injury, or harm. But as long as you have fuckers that are willing to do that as a job and nobody does anything about it, it's just, you get what you got. But I got to go. We got shit to do. Have a good day. Stay safe. Peace.